You hear it all the time, right? Prices are going up, everything's more expensive. But what's really going on behind the scenes? Well, today we're going to cut through all that noise and get to the real source of inflation. It's this quiet force that's constantly shaping our financial lives. And honestly, understanding it is more important than ever. So let's dive in. So we know that banks can essentially create money out of thin air when they give out loans. But if that's true, what's stopping prices from just shooting to the moon all the time? It seems like a paradox, doesn't it? Where does inflation actually come from? That's the big mystery we're unpacking today. And let's bring this right down to your wallet. You get that pay raise, you feel like you're finally getting ahead. But then, somehow, at the end of the month, things feel just as tight as before. It's like your money just doesn't go as far. That frustrating feeling, that's inflation in action, and it's what it does to our personal finances. Okay, so to get to the truth, we've got to clear away some of the clutter first. There are just so many common ideas about inflation out there that are, well, either not the whole story or just flat out wrong. You've probably heard them all. People say inflation is just greedy shops jacking up prices, or that prices just kind of naturally go up over time, like it's a law of physics or something. Or maybe it's all just bad luck, a bad harvest, a problem in the supply chain. And look, while those things can definitely affect the price of one or two things, they are not the real reason we see everything getting more expensive year after year. And here's the crucial thing to get. Inflation is not some random accident. It's not just bad luck. It's the predictable result of very specific economic forces at play. It's a system, and it's tied directly to how money gets created and moves around our economy. And this leads us to a really foundational idea in economics, which was summed up perfectly by Milton Friedman. He basically said that when you see prices going up across the board consistently, the ultimate cause is always the money supply itself. It's a monetary phenomenon. So, what is this monetary phenomenon? Let's pull back the curtain and look at the actual engine that causes our money to lose its value. It's actually a lot simpler than you might think. Just imagine a super simple little economy. You've got 10 apples for sale and 10 people who want to buy them. Each person has $1. So an apple costs $1. Easy, right? Okay. Now what happens if, overnight, everyone magically has $2, but there are still only those same 10 apples? Well, people are going to start bidding up the price, right? Someone will offer $1.25. Another person shouts $1.50. Pretty soon, the price of an apple settles at $2. See? The apples didn't change at all, the amount of money chasing them did. And this right here is the absolute key, the light bulb moment. Inflation isn't really about the price of stuff going up, it's about the value of your money going down. Each one of your dollars now buys less than it used to. The apple isn't more precious, your dollar's just less powerful. That shift in thinking is everything. All right, so if we know that more money in the system devalues our cash, what actually causes that to happen in the real world? Well, economists usually point to two big forces that really push the inflation button: pressures from the demand side and pressures from the supply side. So first, you've got what's called demand pull inflation. This is pretty much our Apple story playing out on a giant scale. It's the classic too much money chasing too few goods. It happens when everybody, you, me, businesses, the government, wants to buy way more stuff than the economy can actually make. So where does all this extra spending power come from? Well, it can pop up from a few places. If the central bank lowers interest rates, it gets super cheap to borrow money, so people and companies start spending more. Or maybe the government starts spending a ton of money or gives everyone a tax cut. All of these things basically pour fuel on the fire, pumping more cash into the system and causing us all to bid up prices. Now, the second type is called cost push inflation. And this one's a little different. It's not about too much demand, it's about the actual cost of making things going up. You can think of this as inflation that starts on the other side of the equation with the producers. So here, the pressure is coming from a totally different angle. Imagine the price of something essential, like oil or steel or even wages, suddenly shoots up. Businesses get squeezed. Their costs go through the roof. To stay in business, they have no choice but to pass those higher costs on to us, the consumers, by raising their prices. So let's just put them side by side to make it super clear. Demand pull, that's driven by us, the buyers, with more money in our pockets, bidding prices up. Cost push, that's driven by the producers, who have higher costs and are forced to charge more. One's a demand issue, the other's a supply issue. But for you and me, the end result is exactly the same.
things get more expensive. And this is why this whole thing is so important to understand on a personal level. Because inflation isn't just some number on the news. It has incredibly real and incredibly unequal effects. It basically acts like a hidden tax on all of us. And just like any other tax, it doesn't hit everyone the same way, not even close. What inflation really does is it quietly and systematically transfers wealth from some people to others. It creates a very clear set of winners and losers. Here's how that transfer works. If you're a saver and your money's just sitting in cash, you lose. Big time, because its buying power is just melting away. But if you're a borrower, say with a big fixed-rate mortgage, you actually win, because you get to pay back your loan with money that's worth less than when you borrowed it. Meanwhile, people who own assets like real estate or stocks are often protected because the value of those things tends to go up. But if you're a regular salary earner, you often get squeezed because your paycheck just can't keep up with how fast prices are rising. See, this isn't just some boring academic topic. In the world we live in, understanding how inflation works isn't just interesting, it is absolutely essential knowledge for your financial survival. All right, for our final piece of the puzzle, let's zoom out. Because beyond our own wallets, inflation plays a much deeper role in the health of an entire economy. And it all boils down to one single powerful word: trust. Now, here's a wild question for you. After everything we've just talked about, could inflation ever be a good thing? And the answer, which might surprise you, is actually yes. But, and this is a huge but, only in small, predictable amounts. Believe it or not, most central banks around the world don't actually want zero inflation. They aim for a small, steady rate, usually around 2% per year. Why? Because a tiny bit of inflation gently encourages people and businesses to spend and invest their money, instead of just hoarding cash that's slowly losing value. It keeps the economic engine humming. It's actually a sign of a healthy, growing economy. The real danger isn't that small 2% inflation. The real danger is when it becomes high, unpredictable, and out of control. That's when it does truly profound damage, because it starts to attack the single most important foundation of any modern economy: trust in the money itself. Because when you really think about it, that's all money is. It's a shared belief. It's a form of social trust that this piece of paper or these digits on a screen actually have value. Inflation is the acid that eats away at that trust. And the final question we're left with is the most important one of all. What happens to a society when that trust is completely and totally broken?